Good afternoon. I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. We're off to a new week, and what a new week it is. Just a lot of stuff happening here in Twin Cities, and I'm sure wherever you are around the world. Speaking of which, we want to thank those of you who have watched or subscribed to the program from anywhere across any of the platforms. We invite you to be a supporter to get notifications. You do that by going to YouTube.com/Insight News MN, and you can become a subscriber. You can like and you can share. We're streaming across YouTube platforms of Insight News and of the Black Press of America. We're streaming across the Facebook pages of Black Press of America, of Insight News, and my Al McFarlane Facebook page. We're also streaming across LinkedIn and Twitter. Again, wherever you are connecting, we value, we appreciate, and we thank you for connecting. We invite you to tell somebody else. We want you to help us grow our numbers. And so if you like or share, let somebody know. And then if you have subscribed, or if not, please do that and let other people remind that that's something we can do for each other, that you can do for this program. Well, Friday, we do what we call the Healing Circle, and I'm pleased to always have my colleague and partner, Dr. BraVada Garrett Akinsanya. She's the leader at the African American Child Wellness Institute and the principal at Brakens Consulting. And we start with a special protocol for how we should be together in community. Dr. B, good to see you, and thank you for your inspiration last Friday when we were broadcasting live from George Floyd Square. You were there with us remotely. It was a great program. Great programs all week long for George Floyd Week. Let me send a special shout out to my friends over at Nubia and Narrative. We are posting these shows after we do them to Narrative and Nubia in the Black World Press section. And so we invite any Nubians in Twin Cities or anywhere around the world to be a part of this conversation. We're here for the Healing Circle every Friday, but we're streaming 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And we'd love to have you involved. And Remnant Girl Lit, she says, like and share, y'all. Thank you for your support, Remnant Girl Lit. Thank you so much. And that's what people need to do, is just, there you go, message to you, Dr. B. Okay. So Dr. B, let me hand it over to you to get the intention set for today.
Thank you so much, Baba Al. And I'm taking the stick. I'm so excited to come and talk today about the world news and the news affecting us locally as well as nationally and internationally. And I'm just so grateful for this platform that you provide so graciously. And as a master conversationalist, it's just been a joy to sit with you and hear how you orchestrate, invite, entice our audience to get involved. I see people on the streets talking about, oh, I saw y'all. I saw you on Conversations with Al, and boy, do y'all have some serious conversations. So I'm glad people are liking and loving us, and we'll just keep putting that out in the universe so that more people can join. Today, as we do every Friday when we join, we create a sacred space for healing. And especially when there are high incidents of violence or pain, we ask our audience to join us in this space. And we call it a circle, although virtually we're in circle and we're not in the same spots. We see ourselves as an African people, and we join in a circle because in a circle, there's no power structure, no hierarchical power structure. There's no beginning, no end, and nobody at the top or bottom. We all have equal access to have voice to the center, which is the center of the circle. And so as we join in this space, we also believe as an African people that we are all connected. We're connected to all living things, even inanimate things, and to each other. So on this planet, we can all embrace holding the hands of our siblings who are share this universe. In the circle, we also honor our elders. And we honor our elders because those are the shoulders we stand on. Somebody worked our way, prayed our way, hoped and dreamed our way into existence. So we sit here, the embodiments of generations of hopes and dreams. We honor our elders, and as we honor them, we honor our ancestors because our ancestors were the shoulders our elders stood on. And those ancestors who have continued to inform and pour spirit and memory through us, they are also honored because they're closest to our Creator. So as we sit here honoring all parts of ourselves here and in the future and in the past, we also do this in an orderly manner. So as our guests will see today, we use a talking stick as African people do. And whoever has a stick gets to have voice at that moment. The rules are you can ask for the stick if the spirit moves you, but it's an orderly movement of conversation. So today we welcome people into this sacred space and ask people to look on your side, your right, your left, behind you. Make sure that you feel safe. Look in front of you so that you know where you're grounded right now, that you're here in this present moment. And it's a safe place to listen, to learn, and to feel. And with that, I say ashe to our
Ashe,
ashe to our elders,
Ashe,
ashe to our babies,
Ashe,
ashe to our creator, and
Ashe,
ashe to this process. And I
Ashe.
thank you, brother, and I give the talking stick back to you. Bye bye, Al.
Well, thank you, Dr. B. And it's always wonderful to get centered, to get set, and to be in a African centeredness, African consciousness, an Africana way of knowing. Again, paying homage to our friends and colleagues over at Narrative in Nubia. Narrative, think of the word narrative with a K, just like you use knowledge with a K,
Mhm.
and Nubia, Nubia with a K. It's a movement to connect us globally around the the necessity of creating a system of relationships, a governing structure within and among members of our community that honors our legacy, our beginnings, our attachment to uh, the the creation of existence itself and our authoring role in the continuing unfolding of life and building futures for the community and for our planet, for Earth. Well, I also am happy to see Dr. Oliver Williams, and I got notices recently, invitations about his retirement ceremony. Dr. Oliver, how you doing?
Brother, I'm hanging in there. You
You're
know,
looking good as always.
thank you. I appreciate that. Look, I wish I felt as good as I look, but I'm pleased to be here and to see you all.
Okay, well, if you felt as good as you look, boy, you'd be flying because you look great. You look great, you know. So I'm sure you're not far from that,
Yeah,
but that's good news, and wonderful to see you smile and you laugh. It's inspiring. So
yeah,
you coming up on a retirement? Talk about that for a
yeah.
minute.
Well, I've been at the U for 35 years, and I taught at West Virginia University for a couple years before that, and at Illinois State University for a couple years before that. And so I've been doing this for a bit. And you sometimes when it's time to sit down, and it's time to sit down from this. But Dr. B and I'll still be doing some things together, and doing some things in the community, trying to plan a trip to the Dominican Republic to do some training with them, and then in Uganda. And so working on those things. But so I'm sitting down, but I'm trying to do it uh, pace myself,
Uh-huh.
and today it's interesting. Sonia and I have been married 38 years today, and we've been together for 41 years. and
Mm.
if I had to do it all over again, I would, because she's been a blessing to me, her and Sammy, and so it's a good day. Yeah. So
That's wonderful. So, how many years at the university?
35. I came in 89, and so
35 years.
5 years.
Sound is breaking up to me. I don't know how it is
Oh
to
yeah.
you, Dr.
Can
B.
you hear me?
I can hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And it might be my machine. Your voice is kind of warbled a little bit. But I was asking how many years at the U?
35.
Okay. So do this for me. Talk about the when you got the offer, when you applied for the job, what was that act like of deciding that you would maybe, as you considered options, uh, when the University of Minnesota emerged as the best choice? What was going on in your mind and in your family? And I'll
Well,
ask you also what was on in the world at that time.
wow. Well, let's see. First time I came to Minnesota for a job interview was in 1985, and I was wet behind the ears. I just got my doctorate from the University of Pittsburgh, and I came out for a visit, and I went to 5 different universities to interview them and with them. And University of Minnesota, Minnesota had a reputation for doing work around domestic violence. Jeff Edelson was here, um, and then the whole apparatus in the state was sort of set up. Now I came from the state of, I was born in Detroit, and in the state of Michigan had a reputation around addressing things and advancing the issue, but so did Pittsburgh. And so I interviewed here, but Ron Rooney was a professor at the University of Wisconsin, and he'd been writing things about working with involuntary clients, and so that was interesting to me. And I read his work, and I read Jeff's work, and kept up with things around, and uh, and so they were interested. And so, but Ron was my competition, and Ron was an associate professor at Wisconsin, so I didn't get it, and I didn't feel bad about it, but I got three other offers, and so I decided, because I was a new pup, to go to the University of Illinois, or Illinois State University in Normal, Illinois, which was a good choice. And then I went to West Virginia. They asked me to come a couple years later, and I enjoyed being there. And then I got the offer. They asked me to apply for the School of Social Work at the University of Minnesota. And the first Black person I met when I came to University of Minnesota was Jim Bransford.
Mm.
And Jim Bransford was my man. He was he one of the things I appreciate about Jim was that I always felt like he was one of my best cheerleaders,
Mm.
and very encouraging, and saw the wealth of social service organizations that were in the Twin Cities, and the good work that was being done. And so I really appreciated that, and then Sonia and I got the gig. Sonia was working at neighborhood house, and actually she started before I came, because I had to finish up some stuff in West Virginia, and she got the gig at neighborhood house, and started working at family services after that in St. Paul, and so we felt kind of embraced, by the community, and by programs and such. And what was going on at that time?
This is 1980,
89.
89. Okay.
And so Sonia and I we didn't have a child yet. And so Sam was born in 1990.
Mhm.
And so we were blessed with Sam, and it felt comfortable, felt interesting, and I felt a lot of support. But it took me an adjustment to get here over the years. And Rose Brewer was one of the other people that I met,
Mhm.
and she had a program dealing with McKnight Fellowship, and so I got connected with her in that project, and Paul Rosenblatt, who was one of the founders of the Family Social Science program, he became a buddy and a mentor, and Jerry Beaker, who was another professor in the School of Social Work, who was another supportive soul. He's passed away, and
What was Gisela Konopka at the university still when you were there?
yep, she
You know that
was.
name?
Yeah,
Okay.
she was a mentor to one of my mentors,
Mhm.
a brother who is the dean at Wayne State University. And so we went over to her house and spent some time with her, having tea with her. And then there's a couple other things that I had some encounters with Professor Kanapka. And uh, so it was an interesting experience being here and growing here, and having the opportunities that I've had. I got a chance to take Sonia and Sam to Kenya with me when I went, and we've been all over the world. We've been the UK, Germany, France, the British and U.S. Virgin Islands, and interesting experiences. And I've got a video that I did for Sam um, on a was it on a my Macintosh
Mhm.
called iMovie, and I've got Sam from when Sonia and I got married, to when he graduated from Minnesota State University, uh, and that shows an interesting thing. You oftentimes don't have a balance with your life.
Mhm.
You're in an academic environment, and so I've had a chance to do so many things. And I was a chair for the Children, Youth, and Family Consortium that Marty Erickson created. And as a consequence of that, I met Al Gore, and ended up going to his fatherhood conferences, for several years, and then took Sam with me to go to one of them, and there I met Jesse Jackson and Garth Brooks and a range of people who were doing work around father, and a lot of the leading people around the country that were dealing with the intersection. And Marty had me talk about fatherhood, but also domestic violence, which is interesting. I got a chance to go to the UK and then York, UK. We did a national conference in the UK around fatherhood and domestic violence, and I got a chance to present, but also moderate that conference. And so it's been quite interesting. I became I was a Democrat all along, but I always call myself a Wellstone Democrat. And Paul and Sheila Wellstone were good friends. And I got a chance to meet can't think of his name. The He's an actor. Uh, um, he did. Yeah, Warren Beatty. Sonia
Yeah.
walked up the stairs and heard me.
Mhm.
So and took Sam to that. And Hillary Clinton was there, and a lot of people. And so it's been there are things that I experienced not only through the field of domestic violence, but also through my relationships with the different people who are here. And I've got offers to go to different places. And there have been a lot of generous people here. Gary Cunningham and
Hmm.
Sean Price and Shane Price and Resma. Resma, I started working with him when he was at Wilder.
Hmm.
And I had a project going on at Wilder, at the Wilder Foundation. And Resma was one of the young people that we started co-facilitating battery intervention groups, at Wilder Foundation. So it's been a really enriching experience overall. I got a chance to meet BraVada many moons ago, and
Mhm.
her and Bill Allen when they were doing some work with children, and
Mhm.
uh, uh, so it's I feel a lot of gratitude,
Yeah.
and so and then just feel blessed.
Hmm.
So at the end, this luncheon that they're throwing for me on next Friday. Uh, there's a lot of people that are coming from around the country and around the world. There's going to be people. There's one friend that's supposed to be coming from Burkina Faso. I hired her to work with me, and when we were doing work around domestic violence within the African and African American community. And so she was a diplomat in Burkina Faso, but she was instrumental in helping me make connections and to go broader than just the African American community,
Hmm.
to go to the diaspora and to
That's
go
right.
to the different
I got a
African.
quick question. I don't
Yes,
want to interrupt you, but I got a quick question. The spirit is moving. This is
yes.
what I want to ask you. And I know you're a very spiritual man. When you think about all the places you have gone and all the students, faculty, staff, families, communities that you have impacted,
Hmm.
I know this is a big question. What do you think? Wait, I'm going to say this before I ask this.
Okay.
Mark Twain has a quote that I've been using lately. He
Hmm.
said, there are two important days in your life, times in
Hmm.
your life. One is when you're born, the second one is when you find out why.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
So now I'm posing a question.
Hmm.
As you look over all these experiences, what have you found out is your why?
Hmm. I think I got into the field of social work, and I think I got into the field of social work uh, because I felt like if I were in a circumstance where I needed help, I would want somebody to treat me the way that I felt like I needed to treat them. That makes sense. And I thought when I was a really young man that I'd be a minister. But then I decided that maybe I wouldn't be a minister, but I still had faith in God. And this was and it wasn't only thinking it; it was behaving, ways to behave and give to people. And so I think that the reason why I was my why is because I felt like I needed to uh, demonstrate my faith through action. And so that's my why. And I believe in God, but I can't just. It has to be operational in some way. It can't be something where uh, I think it but not do it. And so it's a way for me to sort of live my faith. And so yeah,
Wow.
that,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So what's your follow-up, Dr. B?
Well, my follow up to that why is that I also think that I see you giving people the possibility of healing.
Mm,
You walk in that space, you carry that message, and it's not just little bitty, the little tiny bit of healing. I mean, you're talking about generational curses of abuse and hate and hurt and harm that you intervene in and break up.
yeah.
And so I think walking in your spiritual space of
Mm,
knowing who you are and why you're here, God made you a warrior
mm,
because you are breaking up a warrior slash peacemaker because you
mm,
are breaking up family
mm,
wars and
mm,
establishing peace, and you're making people war with the part of them that is not pro-social or healthy. And so
mm,
you shake it up, brother. You shake it up, and
mm.
yet you create peace. That's
And
out. That's what. And I, with that, I say about to drop the mic because when you see all these people coming from around the world to hear you, it's because you did do that wherever you went, and you're still doing it. So I don't know what retirement's gonna mean for you, but I
that,
don't think you're gonna stop doing that.
my body is not let me do as much as I used to, which is a good thing. Uh, uh, but it has been interesting to look at the similarities from different countries. You know, going to some of the different spaces.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've got a chance to go to Germany and lecture at one about Liepensel, Germany, and it was a Lutheran university there, and spent a week with them, and they would knock if you did. They liked what you did. They would knock on the table. So I got finished with the lecture, and they started knocking on the table. Let's go. What's I thought they didn't. I said maybe I said something wrong, but it was to say that they appreciate it, and or South Africa. Going through South Africa was a interesting place from Cape Town to Durban to Johannesburg and to Soweto, and to talk to the people about domestic violence. I got an award from the Islamic Council in Cape Town for the work that I was doing around faith, and did it with Elizabeth Peterson, and had the American Council bring me over to lecture throughout South Africa about it. And going through Kenya was interesting, and going to the going all the places that I've been to. It's been interesting, and it's done my heart well, you know, and it's felt like a blessing. And but at this point, I'm sort of thinking that it's up to the younger people to pick it up and uh, move it forward. And what I can do is do what I can do in this space, and not to travel around as much, to try to do stuff as much as to do things.
Let me ask, you mentioned it's up to the young people now.
Yeah.
Thinking back, what would you say was expected of you as
Mm.
you entered the arena as a young person, but also as a young professional, as uh, an educator, a professor? Uh, what would the Gisela Kanopkas and other elders say when they said it's up to the young people looking
Yeah.
your way? How do you frame that experience of being a new professional in the arena?
I think learning from my mentors and learning from Professor Kanapka and
Brother
um,
Bransford.
oh yeah, from Jim. JB was the man,
Mm-hmm.
and as a matter of fact, I'm getting an award on June 20th for the Sons of Bransford
Mm-hmm.
conference.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided along Sam and Simmons and I guess Tanya Bransford, and that I think they had some say about whether I should get the award this year. And I'm blessed, because I respected JB, because one of the things that JB did is that JB was a healer himself,
Hmm.
and he helped people around substance abuse. He helped them around domestic violence. And I would like to think of myself. And the other thing too about JB is that JB started doing the work, but JB was, you know, I want to continue to hang in there like JB did, because JB did it up until he's 90, and he was, and I'd like to figure out what contribution I can give, and and so JB was an inspiration, but and also I have a friend coming up. His name is for next week. His name is David Garvin. So he was like a Gisela Kanapka himself. His father was a professor at University of Michigan, and so he was the person that I would sit at his feet. Now I didn't go to Michigan. I went to Michigan State, so I'm just making that clear.
Hmm.
But I worked in Ann Arbor for 2.5 years, and I was a child welfare worker, and I respect the University of Michigan and a lot of the people who were professors there. Kathy Fowler, Fowler, who was a professor and doing her doctorate while I was a child welfare worker, and Kathleen just retired a couple of years ago, but she was a mentor and a friend, and um, but Charles Garvin Sr., Dr. Garvin, was a mentor for me, and he and his son uh, uh, David and I became friends for a number of years. And David's been in the field of domestic violence. As a matter of fact, he's doing a national batters organization to address the issue of domestic violence. And so, you know, uh, I think making connections with people who are like-minded. Rita Smith, who was a former director of the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, she's coming. And and then my friend Uju Obi, who grew up in the Twin Cities, but she's second generation Nigerian.
Hmm.
And I don't know if I should say first. She grew up in the Twin Cities, and then would go to Nigeria every year. And she got in contact with me around domestic violence in the African community, and
Hmm.
so I started taking her with me to conferences, and she graduated from Harvard, and then she went to Harvard Medical School, and she's a psychiatrist with a family justice center in New York.
Wow.
And so she's coming. And so I've been blessed by people who have made a connection with me, and people that I've learned things from, and people who share a vision of wanting to create peace. And to me, I think that we as a community have to figure out ways to have peace. So we deal with the challenges like a Trump, and we need to.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, we got to get into that one though. I don't know if I can go today without saying something about that.
I got
Mm.
it. Me too. But in addition, we had to figure out how to create peace within.
Hmm.
And unless the work of Brockins and the African American Child Wellness Institute, and your work, Brother Al, in terms of helping people to understand things, and to talk about things, and to be informed about things, is so important, because we got to figure out how to have health within. I remember when I started working around domestic violence issues, and I would talk to brothers about who were in psychology or social work, about domestic violence, and they said, well, given how we've been treated, the natural consequences to deal with behavior, to deal with violence. And I said, not maladaptive behavior. When you're doing violence within the community, that's maladaptive. You got to figure out, so to acknowledge what the consequences are might be an influence, but also understanding how to address it so it becomes healthy is the important thing. A person would talk to me about like you get stopped by the police and then you go home and then you take it out on your family.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, so how did you feel when you got beat up or harassed by the police? And so I felt uncomfortable. So call me some more adjectives around that. I felt helpless. I felt like I was didn't have a say so. I felt oppressed. I said, how do you think she feels when you do that to her? And so that's the other thing about cultural competence.
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand the lived experience of populations and help them talk about it. But sometimes when you deal with psychologists or social workers who are not from the community, they want to debate you about your perspectives, about whether or not there's racism or things like that. Come on.
The framework from that debate, it would seem to me, is their contention or belief that the world is basically okay.
Yes.
It's okay because they're okay, and the structure around them gives them that feedback that things are under control, and that they themselves are part of the controller,
That's
And so then if you present as an alternative point of view or separate experiences, the debate has to be to convince you that what you think is wrong
right.
and that what they know is right. And that
Right.
once you have agreed to accept their language, their analysis, their approach, then you're part of the club. That's a challenge everywhere, and that doesn't end. We still have to deal with that.
That's
I
right.
think that really is it's a fault line for
That's
where
right.
we go in the future. Let me point out one thing. You probably both have seen the memes and the stuff over television about Sister, what's her name, the Congresswoman Crockett.
Yeah,
Have you watched that?
I have.
I think that's classic because what she has done is challenged the hidden language and understanding, the agreement
Right.
that white people and that people in power have had. Let me see if I can pull this up. So Jasmine Crockett, her bleach blonde, bad built bush body comment has gone viral, and the short story on that is that in a congressional hearing, she was describing something, and of course, Marjorie Taylor,
Right.
who is, I would call her uh, Donald Trump's pit bull,
That's right.
uh, says something out of pocket,
Right.
inappropriate, out of the protocol. But as it turns out, that's what she's been doing ever since she's been there, being a loose cannon,
Right.
and in a sense mirroring uh, Donald Trump's disregard for decorum, for the law, for the legislation, for the process and everything. And so she made some kind of a personal remark about Jasmine, and Jasmine uh, fired back in a way that said, uh, well, maybe let's play this real. Can you play it, Cooper? We'll come back. Put it on. Let's play it.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about. I guess
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
your
please
screen.
regain
Point of order.
Mr. I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Green's words.
That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you
Meeting
attack
will
the
suspend.
physical
Meeting will
appearance of another
suspend.
person?
Are your
Move
feelings
her
hurt?
words down.
Oh,
Oh, girl, baby girl.
oh, really?
Don't even play with
Baby
me.
girl? I don't think
We are gonna
so.
move and we're gonna take your words down.
I
Thank you very
second that motion.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Chairman,
That's amazing. So that has gone viral. So what it suggests to me is a shift. It's a shift in the power dynamic. And here you have a young attorney who's also a business degree holder uh, uh, shooting back at the off the cuff remarks from her colleague, uh, the Marjorie Taylor. And the point here is that the comments and the sensibility that uh, Taylor felt comfortable making reflected the general status quo. All of the men and women in Congress, by and large, are able to hear and not judge and not criticize or correct Taylor for her incorrect action and for her violation of the protocol of the rules, right? So they turn a blind eye towards rule violation by white people, but they hold black people and other people to a very, very, very critical standard that that no matter what you do, you cannot get their approval because they shift the goal on you all the time. But what you can do from their point of view is what they do.
Right.
The change now is that Sister Crockett, she didn't do what they did, but she blasted through it. That's kind of how Dr. B described you as a change agent. She went into it in a warrior's pose, and her presence and showing up and her authenticity was like a grenade tossed into a room, and it shattered the stuff that had no business being there anyway, but that was falsely constructed, like the Wizard of Oz's idea of the world. And she pulled the curtains back. I think that's what's happening now in the world a lot. What do you think, Dr. Oliver and Dr. B? I'm going to pass it back to you, Dr. Oliver.
Well, one of the things that I think is that, if you heard anything this morning about Trump, he's talking about the fact that it's the Biden administration that it went against him to try to, that's all full of lies. And then, so why is his son getting ready to go? Biden's son getting ready to go to court. If it was his administration, he wouldn't do that towards his own son if he felt like it. If he felt like it was reasonable, he's not hadn't gotten in the way of it. But all of that is foolishness on the part of. I remember when he showed up at Congress, to try to answer the questions so everybody could see. Not so it would be closed session and then they could edit out what they didn't want to have. So, it's interesting to me that, and then they have all those Congress people show up at Trump's trial. What's that all about? And so they begin to look more and more foolish. And I think that we've got. I remember when Joe McCarthy. I don't remember, but I remember seeing when Joe McCarthy was doing his foolishness, and there was a critical moment when people ended up saying enough of this, and then confronting him with a truth. And I think that's what's got to be happening with regard to Trump, where Congress, people in the world have to, just tell the truth and confront his foolishness.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to see that much more than we have, and it's got to come to a point where the tide has changed, because he's trying to change democracy.
Yeah.
Destroy it, eliminate it. Yeah.
And see, let me jump in because and I was trying to look up the classic definition of a racial microaggression is that it is a brief, commonplace, daily, verbal, behavioral, or environmental indignity, whether intentional or unintentional, that communicates hostile, derogatory, or negative racial slights and insults toward people of color. So what happened with this sister, and the thing about microaggressions, they're more likely to occur in interracial experiences. And what happened to this sister is that one of the things that increases the likelihood of a microaggression is if you feel like you can get away with it and nothing's going to happen to you for saying it or doing it. But what people don't know now is that sisters, we are the queens of, we are queen of dissing, talking back, sliding back through you, giving you worse than you put out. She doesn't know how Black women roll. But she found a little touch of it that day because we can do it just as smoothly. 3 days later, you won't even know you've been told off till you wake up. That woman just that's what I'm saying. She didn't know who she was messing with. But I think the world is beginning to find out that we live those micro aggressions every single day. And we know how to deal with it. Finally, we're in these spaces of power where dealing with it may not have a level of consequence that it once had, because you see how smoothly she said it. But I have found myself in places where a white woman would do all this tit for tat. I'll never forget it. In my own division at American Psychological Association, I was a Black president when everybody was trying to blame all the stuff, all the problems on Black folks. And one of the women was telling me off, you don't know what you're doing, da 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 da. And then I told her, she said, you're thinking all white people are racist. I what we call it, dressed her up and dressed her down. I finally told her, I said, I don't know you. You don't know me. I don't know whether you're racist or not, but I do know that you are certainly rude and inappropriate in an experience like this. Boy, then the white people started coming out to woodwork. All the other Black women psychologists, oh, don't say, we need to have peace. Soon as I started talking, oh, now let's back. She wasn't expecting it. She wasn't expecting that from our sister. And now she knows, and I'm glad they're doing minds all over the place. Now she knows who she's fooling with. Because we don't play that. We don't respect is so deeply embedded into our being. Those of us who grew up with mamas and daddies and grandmas and aunties and uncles, who, if you disrespect somebody over here, by the time you get to the other side of the building, somebody gonna know you did it, and they're gonna act, and they'll dress you up or dress you down. So I think part of the power of us and our resilience is we do make peace, but sometimes we don't start the mess, but we shut it down.
That's right. Was it Ocasio-Cortez says, "Don't bring none, won't be none."
That's right. Come on, baby girl.
That's right.
Shut it down.
You mentioned President Trump. Let's pull up the story we have on him. Just have all of us weigh in on yesterday's stunning news: a victory by the court, the lower Manhattan, in convicting Donald Trump. And this is a CNN story. It says Donald Trump, his first act on becoming a convicted criminal was to launch a raging new attack on the rule of law, laying bare the gravity of the choice awaiting America's voters. In one sense, Trump's conviction on all counts in his first criminal trial affirmed the principle on which the United States is founded, that everyone is equal and that no one, not even a billionaire and former and possibly future president, enjoys impunity. But Trump's authoritarian outburst minutes after the guilty verdict in New York and a race by top Republicans to join his assault on the justice system underscore how threatened those bedrock values are now. Let me stop reading that. I know everybody's been hearing this news all day for the past 24 hours, and it's big news. It's important news because it really sets the course for the country and to that degree for the world in the days ahead. And so I'm thinking a couple of things. One is that this is one of three major trials, maybe four, that all have him at the crosshairs. This is the first one brought by Attorney General for the Southern District of Manhattan, Alvin Bragg. But he's got the court case waiting for him in Georgia. What's the prosecutor's name there?
Fannie Willis Group.
Fannie Willis, and he has the other court case waiting in upstate New York, I think, and another Black woman who's New York's Attorney General. And isn't it ironic that these three major cases are all being led by Black people?
Right.
That's amazing. And isn't it ironic that all of them, I think, stem from activities that have been going on but never dealt with. The system had a peculiar and particular ability to turn a blind eye towards transgressions by those in power, and those who felt they had the privilege. The system supported that privilege. And in the case of the Alvin Bragg prosecution in New York, he succeeded. The former prosecutor, their attorney, was Cyrus Vance Jr.
Yep.
Cyrus Vance is part of a legacy family of powerful people in this country. His father, a diplomat and major shaper of American culture and political power. So Vance had the investigation, and when he could have brought it to prosecution, chose not to and simply passed it over to Alvin Bragg. My feeling is that, Vance is kind of like, what was his name that had the impeachment investigations? Comey?
Oh, yeah.
And the others that everybody said, oh, these are tough white boys, and they're going to get to the bottom of the truth. And at the end of the day, nothing happened.
That's right.
And the culprits all slid away, and it was just the fog of history. But we did the investigation. That's what this country does, and it allows the sin to continue unabated and doing the damage that it has done, never reconciling that for the future. But now you have Alvin Bragg, you have Letitia, give me the names again, the sister in Atlanta.
Fannie Willis?
Fannie Willis and the sister in New York. And they are taking the cases all the way to the mat. And Alvin Bragg showed that it can be done, should be done, was done. Amazing. What are your thoughts?
Well,
Dr. B, let me go to you first, and then Dr. Oliver.
Well, I can say straight up, I think it's divine justice. And I think there was no clearer group of people to be the ones to talk about his indignities, his irregularities, his racism, his co-opting of American values and making America great instead of great white, or making America hate again. We had the glue of Barack Obama pulling us together, and then we had the paint thinner or whatever it is, you unglue people in him to come forward. But the people who came forward, as we can see, is the power of these powerful Black people who people minimize, marginalize their expertise and their strategic abilities, and they come and just blow them out of the water. And so it had to happen this way. The irony of it all had to happen that one of the most racist presidents we've ever had, the least qualified president in history, that comes up and has the nerve to be what I call, in the book I want to write, it's called Thugs in the White House. He came in with a thug, but he's even giving thugs a bad name because thugs don't even roll like him. So it's so shameful. And that's why he had to do it. That's why they had to take him down, because he underestimated the power, the knowledge, the intelligence, the strategic abilities of these people who take him to task. They lined up their ducks. They're in a row. All of them going to get him. He might as well go on and get ready for it. They're going to all take him down. And with that, I pass the stick to Brother Oliver.
Yeah, there's a few things I thought about in this regard. When the brothers who got accused of the Central Park rape,
Yep.
and Trump was saying he's for law enforcement, he thought that, and then he put ads in the paper, against these guys, and then talking about the death penalty for them. And it comes out that they were innocent.
Yep.
And that they had the DNA test demonstrate that. And he's for law enforcement until law enforcement confronts him.
Come on now.
And there's some other things that in a community I'd like us to talk about. And I think that there needs to be a nomenclature to describe people who have issues like Tim Scott and that other brother, the other Negro that was in Congress. That is, and also some discussion about the South Asian guy too. The South Asians, I think they have issues with regard to how they behave towards people within their own community. In terms of people with value,
class system, class and caste,
caste and class.
Yeah, and because I think that's some of his issues. I remember hearing a young woman who was a newer American make a comment about, Black people, when they earn their way to do it. I said, she doesn't know the history of the country.
She doesn't.
But anyway, with regard to Tim Scott and other folks, issues of identity.
Yeah.
And there's got to be, or this young Black woman, I can't think of her name, who also is connected with a lack of understanding about self and actually hatred of Black people as a consequence of I think life challenges.
Yep.
And I've seen students like that. Students students who are Black. I remember there's one young woman who came to me to apply for graduate assistantship, and I was going to pay her out of the work that we're doing with IDVAC. And I was showing some things. So Susan Taylor had asked me to do something and put an article in Essence about me. And then, I've been in other things, Ebony and Jet. And so, and I was showing her, I said, these are the things that we've done to try to work with things. It was the thing that I'd done with Gary. And so we were in Jet about that. And she says, do these things have something to do with me? And I'm thinking, so if you're a Black person, this is the audience that we're supposed to be engaging with. And the interesting thing for her was the fact that she didn't have a sense of self. Now later, from what I heard, she developed a sense of self. And I don't know what motivated that, because there was a schism between their parents and her parents. And but there's something about the lack of understanding or connection to the community. And
sorry.
Go ahead. No.
I was just on our times on myself, but I was going to say, and Brother Oliver, that lack of identity is so, we see it in early childhood as it formulates through adulthood. It is so entrenched and insidious that it overcomes Black folks who don't see other images of themselves in other Black people.
Right.
When we have Black folks who have white folks always being the rescuer, always being the savior, the logical one, the one with the resources, then people who are of color, they aspire to be like them. They don't have that contrary message saying that's not us and we are actually better than this. We don't have to do that.
We got to drop the mic right there.
Woo!
That's a mic
But
drop.
that does tell us today
Yeah.
we have the COVID show.
Yep.
Right now we're rolling into talking about more of this and how Trump and people with that mentality ended up having us be the ones who die quicker because we were marginalized in that situation too. So we
Right.
want to invite the audience to come back to the disproportionate impact of long COVID on African Americans. And the Zoom address is running down at the bottom of the screen. And if you want to join us and continue this conversation, just hop on in. If it's 10 of us, if it's 2 of us, we're going to talk about it today. So thank you. I do drop the mic.
And thanks to Don Sanchez. He liked your quote that Trump is giving thugs a bad name, but he loves it. Thank you, Doc Sanchez. I'm Al McFarlane. Again, check in for the recovery room just after we leave here, and we'll see you next week. Take care, Dr. Oliver. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. B, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.